For today's project, we're going to be making some ornaments using a technique called kiln carving. But I'm giving it a bit of a twist, and you'll find out what that is in a bit. So this project can be adapted to anything you can make. So I'm making these 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches because they're ornaments and you don't want them to be too large for the tree, but it can be adapted to making sun catchers. It doesn't have to be Christmas ornaments. You could adapt to any design that you want. It's a lot of fun to do. And for the project, we'll be using some clear tecta. So for this project, we'll be using clear tecta cut at 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And we'll be using some fiber paper. So this fiber paper is 1/8 of an inch thick, and we'll be drawing some designs and cutting through it. We'll also be using some confetti and some frit powder and whatever material that you'd like to use. So let's get started. I cut pieces of fiber paper 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and I drew a design in the center. And because I'm working with fiber paper, I have my mask on because you don't want to inhale the particles. So what I'm going to do is cut the design out with an X-Acto knife. You could cut it out with scissors, but I actually want to keep the edges. So this way you actually have two little molds made out of fiber paper to do our kiln carving. So we could do a positive and a negative. So I've cut the tree, a heart, a star, and some circles. And you'll see that on the ones that I cut square, and even on the circles measure 2 inches in diameter. And these ones, I left 1/4 inch on each side because you still want a space where you can put in a hole to hang your ornament or your sun catcher. So I'm doing these really small because I'm making ornaments, but you can always adapt this project to make larger sun catchers. I'm going to move these directly onto my kiln shelf and work directly on that. With the heart fiber paper, it was my test piece, and I've used it once before, and you can use it more than once. So I already did the ornament with it. So using it a second time, I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm just going to do it very simple. I'm going to put the heart and use some of this glass that's already decorated. And I'm just going to put it over. And what kiln carving does, once you put it on the shelf, of course, is you'll see you have your fiber paper, and then you have your glass, and then you'll have your shelf laying underneath. And as it warms, as the glass warms up, it will actually form to your fiber paper. There's where the kiln carving term comes from. And so it's just like draping any other mold, but with fiber paper you can do much smaller designs and do whatever you want, because you could just cut it out, and you can use it at least twice. So this one I've already used, and I'm using it again. So with the negative, what it's going to do is actually it's going to slump into the shape instead of drape over it like the other one that we did. Now, so far, all this kiln carving has been quite normal. It's just fiber paper with a piece of glass on it. Where does the twist come from? Well, we're going to do the twist with this little tree design. I was lucky enough that someone gave me a bunch of glass, and out of all the glass was a lot of confetti. And if you don't know what confetti are these really teeny tiny thin pieces of glass, and these are Bullseye confetti COE90. And what I'm going to do is actually put the confetti directly over the fiber paper and then put the glass on top of it. And then what that will do is, as the fiber paper is pushing against the glass and taking shape, it also will fuse the confetti into the shape. So it not only indents the glass, but adds a little bit of color. So I'm going, for this tree, I'm going to use various pieces of green. And I really like aventurine for this. It comes out really, really shiny. And just stack them as you would. Now, because these pieces of glass are so thin, stacking them like this will create even more color variations. And then what you can do on top, once you've done putting in your greens for the Christmas tree, you can also add a bit of other colors, like some red. Now, once you're done with your design, you're just going to take your piece of glass and lay it on top. Try to center it as much as possible. And there we go. And then I'm going to do the same with the negative, but I'm going to decorate on the outside. Another technique I'm going to use, especially with these round ones, is sifting some frit powder on top. So this was powder blue. Maybe some light cyan. And some white. There's a little tour. This is the star. And then the outer edge of the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree we first worked on. The two hearts. And these are the two powder frit circles, and this one's got the confetti, and this one is the outer edge of the star. So I'm going to take them to the kiln for a slumpy tack fuse, and then we're just, once they come out, we just put holes in them, and then we're done. So here are our pieces out of the kiln, and now we're going to take the fiber paper off. And at this point, it's even more important to be wearing a mask because the fiber paper has fired. It's a lot looser, so you don't want to breathe in those particles. I think this one's my favorite one so far. So just peel it off, and you could peel it off gently. You could reuse it at least one more time. And then we could just clean off the fiber paper that's stuck on with some water curious to see how these ones came out because I hadn't tested it before I did this video. I had tested the ones with the confetti, but not the ones. Yeah, with these ones, because of the frit powder, the fiber paper tends to stick a little more. So it's going to need a thorough cleaning. This is our little tree. See, it popped right out. And we have some clear spots, but I think it just adds to the design. There, so this one's got a little pokey bits. I'll just take it to the grinder and grind them off. So I'm going to remove, let's try this one. This one we just used simply just a piece of glass on top of the fiber paper. And it came out really nice, but the glass already had a design to it. And this piece I had used before, and now I reused it. I could still use it again. Same with this one. But because this has thinner sides, it gets a little distorted. So I'm going to take off the fiber paper on the rest of these, clean them up, and then we're going to put a hole in them to put some ribbon, and then our project is done. So here are our pieces, all nice and clean. So you'll see with these, with the powder, the ones that had the powder over the fiber paper, you clearly see the texture of the fiber indented indented into the piece, but I just think it adds character to it. But I have to say, the ones where I used the powder frit are not really my favorite, but then, I mean, I could have gone with different colors and might have gotten a better result. These ones are my favorite with the aventurine. And these are all Christmas theme. Well, these ones may be Valentine's themed, but like I said, you could use these for any occasion, not necessarily Christmas. You can make them larger, make sun catchers, or put multiple together and hang them to make another sun catcher. So what I also ended up doing as I was cleaning it is a lot of these edges were very rough because of the fiber paper. So I took them all to the grinder. I didn't film it, but I took them to the grinder and ground them down at about a 45-degree angle and did all the sides. And now all the sides are smooth. And because I did it at an angle, you can't really see the grinding on the front of the piece. So I have a shallow container with some water and a sponge, and that's what I'm going to be using where I'll be placing my piece to make the hole. You need the water whenever you're working with glass, when you're making holes, because you don't want the glass to overheat, and you also don't want glass powder to go into your environment. So I'll be using my Dremel. I'm using this tip here. For the pieces that are embossed, meaning that the image is sticking out, I'll be piercing the hole from the front, and the ones that are indented, so the negative, I'll be piercing it from the back. And then for the circles, I'll just be piercing through the circle. Again, I'll be wearing my safety equipment, so my goggles and my mask. Making a hole, you start at an angle and then you move your way up. So now the last step is to put the ribbon, and I have this thin silken ribbon that I got from the fabric store. You could get it at any craft store. And the way I like to do the ribbon is to line up the two edges of the ribbon, pass it both ends through the hole. Might want to cut the ends at a bit of an angle to make it easier to go through the hole. pull both ends through and then loop them through and then tie off the end to whatever length you want, and then just cut off the excess. There you go. Another way you can do it is just loop one end through the hole, or is to thread one end through the hole, like so, and just tie off like this. And there we have it, our little ornaments. So I hope you liked this project, and if you did, please give this video a like. I haven't been doing videos as much as I wanted to because of various family matters that have been going on, but if you like my videos and you have anything you'd like me to do, please let me know and put it in the comments. I love to read your comments, and please tag me in whatever projects you do make. I'd love to see your work. A lot of people have been doing that with the gnomes, which I've really been loving. So yeah, so I'll just leave you with some pictures and see you in the next video.